Thank you for the nice introduction and the opportunity to be here today. I really appreciate it. I will probably talk a little bit fast because I know you guys have an 8:30 meeting, and there's a lot of ground we're going to cover today. And I'm going to try and keep it, or I am keeping it pretty high level. I'm not going to touch on every single aspect within these categories because I could be here for about 5 days. But to preface this, this is a series that we're going to be doing. So all of these 5 categories that I'm going to get into, we're going to take a deeper dive into and do a 1-hour segment into each one of them. So please ask or jot down questions or things that you would like to know maybe in these additional segments to make sure, what I think people like to know and what you're going through might be a little bit different, and I want to make sure that I take the opportunity to get you the information that is really valuable to you and your specific needs. So again, I'm going to keep it pretty high level here today, get into a little bit of some numbers and some reasons why I chose a couple of these categories to specifically talk about. But again, feel free to jot down some questions and just make sure that I get those answered for you either today or in the upcoming segments. So, okay, that's a little preface there. So hi, my name is Tracy Lauritsen, and I am with Krakerjak Marketing, a firm that I started back in 2018, but I've been in marketing for about 20 years, believe it or not. And so what I've done, or who I've worked with in the past, has been a data analytics firm, starfish companies, lots of marketing agencies in the media, general manager, things of that nature. So kind of a wide breadth of different sectors that I've worked within. And I've done lots of speaking engagements for like Energy Issue Summit, lots of stuff for CEDA, Marketing in the Morning series, the March of Dimes, things of that nature. So that's a quick little snippet of my history. People always ask me what Krakerjak means, so that's why I put this up here. Essentially what my firm is it's just a strategic marketing, sales, and analytics firm, and I really just take the time to look at integrating marketing strategies based off of data and what your company's sales efforts are. So that's really it in a nutshell. And whatever that means is specific to you. And the word Krakerjak, why I picked that name is not only it kind of fits my personality with a little bit of pop and fun, but it really does fit my personality as well. I find myself, or I feel like I really work with businesses and partnerships to have a wonderful, remarkable, and open and honest experience. So that's Krakerjak. All right, enough about me, on to the fun stuff. So today we're going to talk about persona development, traditional marketing, social media and digital channels, website opportunities, and then data and analytics. So again, we're going to start and keep it pretty high level. I'm just going to talk about some specifics within these categories that I think are important to know today, and hopefully you have a few takeaways from some of these experiences here. So persona development. So let me just ask you guys real quick. Jason, you're with the paper, right? Okay. And you are?
Here with the Cottage House Inn.
Okay, sounds good. And?
Web design.
Web design. Awesome. So you probably teach me some stuff.
Yeah.
EDA.
Well, and I have a bed and breakfast.
Oh, okay, perfect. Sounds good.
We farm and have a corn raising pumpkin patch.
Oh, fun.
I have Pedal Pushers Cafe and Action Fitness.
Oh, okay. Awesome. In town?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I'm Lori, and I have Granny's Liquor in Lanesboro here.
Okay, awesome. And Smith and CEDA people. Awesome, perfect. So real quick, if you were to quickly just give me age of your perfect or typical customer, what range would that be? Just real quick.
Baby boomers.
Baby boomers, okay?
40 to 60.
Okay.
25 to 40.
25 to 40, all right. Perfect. So probably that 25 to 65 area, right? Y'all have that? Okay. Are they all the same customer? Probably not, right? So what is a persona? A persona essentially is a model of your ideal customer. And why is that important? Why should we know about your ideal customer? And there's lots of reasons. One is there's so much media out there today, right? We could spend thousands and thousands of hundreds of thousands of dollars if we wanted to be available to every 25 to 64-year-old, right? And say that is my market, 25 to 64-year-olds or 25 to 54. Pick a number, it doesn't really matter. But if that's your focus, how are you going to really have an understanding and a relationship with these types of customers? So that's why persona and modeling your ideal customer is super, super important. I don't know any of my clients that just have an open-ended budget to be able to be everywhere for everyone at any given moment, right? So we need to be really cautious and conscious, about where we spend our time, energy, and dollars. So building your ideal model customer is really important. And it's much more than the basics. Your gender, your age, geographical location, those are basic things that everyone should know. What we want to talk about is income, is much more advanced type of things, getting to know our customers. More about their hobbies and interests, more about their ideals, their values, what's important to them, what their lifestyle brings, where they spend their time, where they spend their energy. Those much more deeper dives into what an ideal customer should be. So as you think about your ideal customer, think about what is your favorite customer. Who is your favorite customer? Everyone has one. They might have two, but they all have their favorite customer, whether it's the easiest one to work with, or the nicest, or they spend the most money, or they call you anytime there's a need and you don't have to worry about blah, 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 blah. Everyone has their perfect customer. So think about that person when you're describing your ideal or your model customer, because we want more of them, right? If they're the best customer, why would we want the not best customers? So let's spend our energy on the best type of customer. This is a persona that I wrote about 5 or 6 years ago for someone. So this happy couple here, everyone kind of paint the picture of who you think that they are in your head, okay? Obviously they're going through something very exciting. I'm going to read you a part of their persona and just really think about who they are. So he is a 28-year-old business banker, and she is a 27-year-old elementary school teacher. They live in a $210,000 house, which is probably worth a lot more 7 years ago, or later, that they purchased about 2 years ago, now 9, in St. Cloud, Minnesota. He is originally from Colorado, where his parents and older sister, who has 3 children, married with 3 children, still live. And she, her parents are from northern Minnesota with a beautiful home up on the lake. They're both very active. He plays basketball for the Y, and she is an early morning runner. Together, they play a co-ed volleyball league with a few of their close friends. With their careers in place, modest home, life feels great. A few months ago, they decided it was time to start a family. Both of their parents have been asking the why or when question. She is now pregnant, and they have made their decision to wait until she was 12 weeks along to make the public announcement. Today is that day. Meet the parents-to-be, Kevin and Sarah. Feel like pretty good people, maybe, huh? Have some needs all of a sudden that sparked, right? Real quick, what do you think these guys are thinking in their head? What might they need?
They need a baby moon package.
I don't know what that is, but I'm very interested. Right? You guys are thinking like, strollers and baby showers and this announcement and, all of those kinds of things probably go through your head. But what about anyone thinking about anything bigger than that? This $210,000 home. Do they now need a bigger home? Are they interested in moving? Does he drive a convertible and now they need a minivan? I mean, there's a lot of information here, but there's not enough to know exactly what their real needs are. We know that they're active, but we really don't know their values, right? We can't intellectually relate to them at this moment. Close, but we're not quite there. we really need to know what their needs are. We have no idea from this conversation. We don't know what their wants are. Their wants might be different than their needs as well, right? We don't know what their behaviors are specifically. And we really don't know what their pain points are. They're excited that they're having a baby, but what are they missing? So there's a lot of information here that really would be helpful to target them as ideal customers. And the most important thing is we really need to figure out how to emotionally and intellectually connect with them. There is more to this persona, but I will save that for the persona actual website or information meeting, which is February 28th, I think we confirmed, right? Persona? Yeah. All right. Enough about them. I'm just going to make you think about personas in a little bit different aspect as well. Does anyone here do sales? Jason, sort of. Oh, by the way, if anyone is online and they would like to participate in these conversations, please do so. Right? You can check. Okay, thanks. Yikes. Assume yes. All right. And real quick, in a sales role, we have different personas that we might sell to, right? A good example might be that you might have a conversation that starts with the administrative person or the front desk person or the sales team, something like that. Someone had a need that you connected with, and that's what sparked the conversation. You identified that this person in this organization had a need, but they're not the decision maker. So you have identified the need, you've talked to them, and you've said, yeah, let's continue this conversation. And then it's like, well, yeah, but the CEO needs to be involved. Well, does the CEO have a different want or need from this product or service that you're selling? Most likely. If it's, let's just pretend it's a phone service. The administrative person says, oh my gosh, everyone's working from home now. I can't transfer calls to the salespeople, blah, 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 fill in the blank. The CEO's like, oh, just just call them on their cell phone, or just do this, or just do that. Has all these other ideas on how this administrative person can do their job. So he doesn't actually feel the same need as the administrative person. So we need to sell them, the CEO, a different way than we did the admin person, right? They have different needs, different wants, different values. Then in this phone situation, I just picked that, I don't know why, IT has to be involved, right? They're gonna have to set up this phone system. And they're like, well, how do you know that's the best phone system? It's not gonna work with our Microsoft product, it's not gonna do this or that or whatever. So now you're selling again the same product and service, but now to the IT department. And so when you talk to the IT department, you better have a different pitch because you want them to understand that your product or service is the best when it comes to IT. You've already filled the need for admin, you've convinced the CEO this is a good thing to do for efficiency, and now IT. Totally different conversations that you're going to have. And lastly, the CFO is like, really? What is the return on this investment? Is it the best product out there? Can't we buy something cheaper? I mean, da-da. These are all different personas selling the same product or service that has a different need that you need to address. If you haven't figured out their pain points, you're going to misstep one of these people during that sales process. Does that make sense? Chris?
I think it's important that in small businesses, like a lot of the people in the one person may carry 3, 4, if not all of those roles at the same time.
Absolutely.
You have to pivot in your presentation to understand what phase they're in or what mode they're in.
Absolutely. Yep, that different hat. Great point, Chris. Thank you. All right, and then lastly, your business may change personas, right? So a good example, this is literally a conversation I had the other day with a customer and their insurance. And he started his firm or agency, I don't know what he said, 5 years ago, I'm making that number up. And he started with the P&C side of it, the property casualty side of it. Why? It's an easier sell, it's a need. You have to have car insurance, right? So you can go to your friends, your neighbors, your ex-colleagues, you can go to whoever and say, hey, when you're insurance is up for renewal. Please give me a shot. I started my business. You have to have insurance. So it's a much easier sell because it is a need sell. They have to have it. They have to buy it from someone. So if I'm not going to buy it from my friend, I better tell them why I'm not going to buy it from my friend, and continue that effort. So that's how, and a lot of organizations start their firm or their businesses this way. The need is the easier way to sell. But over time, you can't just keep running your agency off of P&C. You've got to learn to expand and evolve. And you may realize that the life health portion of it is actually more profitable for you. It's a harder sell, but it's more profit. And so you need to adapt and evolve. So yes, this agency might have started with the property casualty side of it and selling car insurance, and now they need to shift their personas to a life policy. And these are different people. They may look similar, but they have much different needs and in different stages of their life and reasons to want to buy a product or service. So we need to really understand them, again, intellectually, and find out what their pain points are to solve their problem. It is not about being 25 to 64. It is not about living in or near Lanesboro. It is not about being an active runner. It is really about identifying their needs and solving their problems. Does that make sense? So we'll take a deep dive into persona development in one of the series coming up. Okay, moving on. I don't know where I'm at time. All right, traditional media. Lots to talk about in traditional media. Jason could probably stand up and talk about a lot of things more than me, but I'm gonna hit on a couple of high points real quick, because I do get this question asked, is it still relevant, right? So let's talk about what that means. What does relevant mean to you? Again, I'll always circle back to knowing and understanding your customer and where they are, not where they live, but where they are intellectually, okay? Traditional media still is the most trusted media when it comes to advertising. And as a matter of fact, television is the top of the list from trusted media choices at 46%. Although over-the-top television has increased by 115%, so essentially that means streaming. That's why I did a little graphic here for it's easier for you to see. Still, 58% of the people still want more local news. So local media is still relevant. The reason TV is one of the high ones is because it has all of the things to capture an audience. Sight, sound, motion, emotion. You can do that with TV. It has all of those in there. So you can have less frequency and capture and get to that emotional tie with the customer quicker. I just like this quote because anyway. So Barack Obama said in one of his Promised Land books, whether I like it or not, people are moved by emotion, not facts. That's why it's so important to understand where someone is and what their pain points are. It's not always that I have the best product or service and it be a blanket on the wall. It's really about tying them in emotionally. All right. Real quick, radio as well. 83%, believe it or not, 83% of Americans 12 years and older said they still listen to radio at least once a week. Okay. Newspaper. Saw this, I thought it was a cute one. Anyway, newspaper still has relevancy, just dependent, again, it depends on your persona and what you're trying to target. I know lots of small town papers do a great job with, reporting on local sports and things like that. People want to see their kids in the paper, and so they still look at things of that nature. Is it the same as what it used to be? No, we just need to learn to pivot and understand the vitality or what's good about it and see if it fits into your marketing mix. Billboard, the same thing. Billboards are still out there. They're great for directional. Lots of digital billboards make it a little easier to buy than it used to be because you don't have to have this huge expense, right, to purchase this vinyl and get it wrapped and then it's up there for 6 months and you're like, oh my gosh, I don't sell that product anymore. I have supply chain issues. Now I have this billboard up there and I'm paying for it, but I can't sell this product. Whatever it is. So digital is great that way, and you can use it for a short time too. So like, hey, I just got this new product and promote it for a week. And then magazines. Niche magazines still have, people still watch or read them. So if you're into Canada wildlife and you get this subscription, you may thumb through it because it's important to you and your emotional tie and what your interests are. Does that make sense? Perfect. So here's how traditional and digital actually work really well together. So I just think this is so interesting. So this is from Google Trends, and this was a recording that happened, what people were searching for, search terms, during the 2018 Super Bowl. I'm hoping this plays here. So this is just a quick timeline of what's going on during the entire game. So people are watching the game and they are searching Tom Brady at the Patriots. They're searching player names throughout the entire Super Bowl, and you can see, if you watched this with the actual game, you will be able to see when things happened during that game of who they were searching and stats on them throughout it. So I just think that's a really powerful thing to take a look at. This was, again, the 2018 game at US Bank Stadium. So those two really, really do work together. And as a matter of fact, I can't remember the exact number, but it was over 80% of sports fans have a mobile device while they're watching live. They're doing something on their mobile device while they're watching live. So those two can certainly work together. And then the last one I'll tell you about is, I don't know if you guys know the Peloton story, or if you even know what Peloton is. You probably know the marketing story behind it. But in 2019, they launched this campaign with this cute girl, and essentially her husband bought her a Peloton for her Christmas present. And although we might think that that is super nice of him, there was a lot of controversy over it. A lot. Why would he have to buy her that? And it was a whole huge social media dilemma, let's just say. And read the story. There's tons of stuff out there. Google it. It's really, really interesting and makes your head kind of shake sometimes. But essentially, they had to reinvent themselves because of this. And she was actually great. She used it. She came on and was their spokesperson a year later. I mean, she just really was like, I don't understand what the big deal was, but it was a big deal. So anyway, the moral of the story is they had to reinvent what they were doing. It's not that they had a different product. They just had to sell it emotionally different than what they did. And they actually, in 2019 and 20, their advertising budget was over 30% of their sales. So it was a lot. They spent a ton of money on it, and then they regrouped and said, this is not working out. We can't sustain a 30+% budget. And they really focused in on tying in digital and traditional media together, and getting different campaigns out there that talk to different types of audiences. So it wasn't just her. It was a whole different, there was, I don't remember anymore, probably 10 different personas that were selling Peloton, and it really took them off. So now they increased their sales by 128% just by revisiting who their customers were and how to talk to them and the media choices. So anyway, that's traditional media. I hope I'm doing okay on time. I'm sorry. Okay, sounds good. So moving on to, so that traditional media will go deeper into some of those categories and things of that nature, what to do, how to buy, and all that in one of the series. So the next series will be on social media and digital media choices. Is everyone okay? I'm talking very fast because I know you have an 8:30, so all right, sounds good. Anything online that I need to know about? Okay, sounds good. What's that?
I just said we were all really smart. We can keep up.
Okay, sounds good. It's a lot of ground to cover in a little bit of time here, but I want it to be valuable to you. So anyway, social media and digital media, whole world out there, right? There's a lot going on. This is just a snippet of the different digital choices that are out there today. But I think what's important to know is a few things. Who is using social media and what social medias are available, right? And to keep connected with that. So this is actually this report was actually in January 14th of 2022. So this is very relevant, timely. So the top 10 social media platforms used by U.S. adults. So this isn't nationwide, this is U.S. adults is what I chose for this here. The number one social media chose is YouTube, which I think a lot of people forget about and don't really utilize as well as they could be using YouTube. So YouTube is number one, and then Facebook, of course, Instagram, Pinterest, LinkedIn, Snapchat, Twitter, WhatsApp, TikTok, and Reddit. Okay, so that's who's there. Why is it important? There's 3.7 billion users worldwide. Huge. And the average U.S. adult spends 2.5 hours a day on social media. 2.5 hours a day. It is crazy. I totally agree. Most U.S. adults, apparently.
Can't volunteer.
So I think this is interesting as well. So how to think about these social media channels, what do people do with them and why do they use them? And so YouTube, 72% of adults said that they use YouTube to learn. That's what they want to do with YouTube, okay? And LinkedIn, 92% of people say if they feel stress at work, they have work-related stress, they are more likely, 92% more likely to look at a help wanted ad, a post. Whether they're interested or not, if they're feeling stress, 92%. So I just think that that's really important to think about. All right, digital media. I'll jump into that for just a moment. I don't know if Glassdoor. Are you guys familiar with Glassdoor at all? Jason is. You guys all are over here. Okay, Glassdoor is I think also one that people kind of underutilize as well. And why it's important is so Glassdoor. If you don't know, I'm sorry. Okay, so real quickly, Glassdoor. Is used for employees to review their employer. So if you're in a hiring mode, you will certainly, anytime you should go to look at Glassdoor and see what your employees are saying about you, number one. And if you don't have your Glassdoor page claimed, claim it so you can be notified if there is a review. So if there's anything you take away today, do that. All right, so who uses Glassdoor? A lot of people actually. They have they're on Glassdoor right now are 50 million reviews and insights. 50 million people or comments have been made about organizations. 50 million, that's a lot. There's 1 million companies currently on Glassdoor. 3 out of 4 users actually reviewed or read 4 or more reviews before they made a perception about an organization to work for. So that's a huge number. And then they have 67 million unique visitors a month that go to Glassdoor. So unique, so meaning people that haven't been there before or haven't been there in a while. It's very powerful. Google reviews, or excuse me, Google business pages. If you have not claimed your Google business page, please do so right away. And if you need help doing that, we can help you. It takes like 30 seconds, but Google yourself. If you don't have your page claimed, please claim it. It's super important. Google likes when people do Google stuff, by the way. So make sure that you get that stuff done. If you have a website, link it to it, your hours, all of that kind of stuff. You can put a picture of your storefront there, lots of things that you can do with Google Business. And just remember, robots read content. So write content, write your about us and be purposeful about what you write in there. But what's important to know is this is where people leave reviews. It's super easy. I'm leaving the parking lot and I'm hitting my review button. So Google reviews, 93% of people say they're influenced. They're influenced by an online review. So if you don't have your page there, you're not influencing people. If you don't have your page there and you have bad reviews, you're negatively influencing people, and you may not even know it. So really take a moment to think about that. And then podcasts. Again, I'm choosing like some things that I think are really interesting and you can take away here today. I'm not talking about everything on social media or digital media, but podcasts, huge. They're getting tons and tons and tons of traction right now. And so some fun facts I think about it, or putting that into perspective specifically, is 41% of people 12 years and older say that they listen to a podcast within the last month. So that's a huge number. 50% of US households are fans of podcasts, and there's 60 million households. So that's 30 million households that say they're fans of podcasts. That's a lot. US, by the way, not nationwide US. I just think this is a fun fact. So 53% of beer drinking households are listeners of podcasts. Just a little persona kick in there. And then 45% have a month, or 45% of them listen to a podcast monthly, have a household income of $75,000 or higher, which is above the average. All right, so there's paid digital and unpaid digital that you can do. This is just the tip of the iceberg list. There's tons and tons and tons, hundreds of different ways that you can be out there, either paid or unpaid. I just picked ones that I thought were easy to relate to. So some that you can do that are paid, of course, are paid social media, paid search, which is be like pay-per-click, search engine marketing, AdWords, things of that nature. You can do influencer marketing, where you pay an influencer to help you with your brand. Social audio marketing, and then YouTube ads. There's some very common ones for paid digital. And then unpaid is social media. You can just do it organically and get traction that way with a purposeful plan. I always remind people when you're doing social media to remember to use hashtags. 3 is an ideal number, and alt tags. Alt tags are missed a lot of time. What an alt tag is essentially you're tagging an image. So if you have an image in your post, you can go and tag that, and the alternate tag is really for bots, to be totally honest, but also for people that aren't, can't read that. So they may have, disability issues or language issues or things of that nature. But alt tags are behind the scenes, right? But they're really, really important from a search capacity. So that's where you get some traction there. And be purposeful with your alt tags, by the way. Don't just be like image of cow. No one's searching image of cow, okay? So like, what is the cow doing? Why does the cow matter? Actually fill in the blanks, think about a keyword that someone might search. So don't make your alt tag something that it's not. I'm not saying that, but I am saying have purpose behind it, okay? Google business pages, we just talked about on the review side a moment ago. Email marketing, podcasts are free, blogs, those kinds of things. Just purposeful ways that will help you in the digital environment. But you do have to spend, time and energy on it. So again, just a few. And so if you want a couple of takeaways, here's what I would say from an organic standpoint. Review and update your digital channels. This is a perfect opportunity. You came here, you spent maybe an hour or so with me. What can you walk away with? Just at least go and look at what your digital environment is and just update it. I mean, just that alone, having a purpose to do that, having a conscious effort to do that every once in a while is super helpful. Okay, and then reflect properly today. So like, maybe you started your Facebook page 10 years ago. Does the About Us section really reflect what you do today? I'm guessing that you probably have some updates that you can do. Like maybe you started your business then, you're like, I'm not really sure how to talk about what we're gonna do. Or maybe now you have new products or services or new hours or et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Maybe you haven't updated it since the pandemic started and people are still like, I don't know if the theater's open. So go on there and have a purpose and make sure that it reflects for what's happening here today. Persona dialogue. So listen to your personas. Think about them and think about what their words are, how they talk, not how the business talks, because we want to relate back to them. So when you're writing your about or your content or whatever, think about learning your persona and talking to them. And then again, hashtags. How is that hashtag important to what you're going to be posting? And I'll just throw in one little stat here. 72% of online users only engage with personalized messages, something that they can relate to. So that's why it's important to actually spend that extra minute to think about your persona when you're writing it. Sales reps, any sales reps in here? 78% of sales reps actually say that they outperform their peers if they're active in social media. That's why it's important for them. 98% of marketers believe that business exposure has increased by using digital and social media, and have a 75% gain in their traffic when they're purposeful about doing that. When you are ready for paid, again, these are things you can do without spending any money, although time is money, physical money, writing a check. When you are ready for paid, just a couple things to think about, honestly, is just remember why the persona is so important, because the price for your campaigns is based off of the clicks, the number of people that you're actually getting to. So if you really think that your persona is 25 to 64, you're really spending a lot of dollars that you really don't need to be spending. So think about that, really hone it in, because you just don't want people click in when they're not ready to buy your product or service, okay? So it's okay to be really small about picking your target audience. And then be precise with your market as well, and be diligent, like I was saying, about who your persona is. All right, moving on. I'm okay with time. I have 2 left. Good?
15 minutes.
Perfect. Okay. Whew, take a breath. All right. Going into website development and maintenance. Are you guys all okay? Yeah? Online okay?
Yeah.
Okay, sounds good. All right. Talking about a website. So what is a website, right? Essentially, you have to think about it as a storefront, as your storefront, your online storefront to your business. So if your online storefront represents you differently than your physical storefront, it might be time to start thinking about either a redesign or at least polishing up some information on there, okay? We want people to feel online the same that they do when they walk through your door. Why is the website still important? 93% begin their search by a search engine. So actually going into a Google or Yahoo or something like that and making a search. 93% of people do that still. And in addition, 60% of consumers interact online. So it's very important that this part of it is updated and reflects who you are here today. There's different ways to build websites. So I just want to talk about platforms really quick. You can have a developer build you a website in all code, and that's, I mean, it works, it functions, and they're usually probably pretty darn good at some interactive stuff. But what that does is limit you to being able to update your content without having to see them. Or if you guys just decide to part ways, you're kind of out, and you have to start all over. So that's why a lot of organizations, and I do encourage this, is using a content management system, a CMS, an ability to make updates constantly without having to go to a developer to do that. And there's lots of different ways that you can do that. And these are the top 10 open sourced, I'll talk some icky words here, but open source types of CMSs, excuse me. And essentially what that the open source and closed source means is there are custom CMSs that are built on specific servers. So like you may have, there's lots of agencies that build a custom CMS. Banks use them all the time. They don't want an open source platform. So essentially what the easy way to explain that difference is if you have a website built in a custom CMS on a proprietary server, you have a higher level of security because the people that want to hack aren't going to hack, 500 businesses on one server when they can hack 50 million on an open source platform. Does that make sense? Okay. But there's always the but side of it, right? So what that also means is if you want to leave that organization that has the proprietary CMS that gives you that high quality, you're starting all over. You are building from scratch. You can't take, essentially, the frame of a house and move the frame, right? Just the frame itself. You have to have all of the other elements that are within it. So you can't move a server. You can't take your information off of someone else's server and move that over. So that's why people use content management systems that are open source. They have a lot more flexibility and ability to move. So you have to weigh those options, right? But I will tell you, the open source and WordPress is the #1 content management system that's out there. As a matter of fact, 60% of websites are built in WordPress. 60% of them. It's huge. It's 12 times more popular than any other website development out there. So that's why people use it. There's lots of opportunity and flexibility with it. Just know what your limits are, that you're making yourself a little bit vulnerable. But there's things you can do about that. And we'll talk about that in a little bit too. Do I keep going out? Sorry. All right. So I just want to talk about when you're building your website or maintaining your website or doing whatever you need to your website, think about it from a customer-centric approach. Why am I doing this? You're not doing it because you just have to have a website. Don't have a website then. Don't do it unless you're going to think about it from a customer's perspective. Why do they care? Why are they going to your website? What do you want them to do when they get there? How do you want them to feel, etc.? You want them to transact with you, but how do you want them to transact with you? Make it easy for them, not what's easy necessarily for us as an organization, okay? And why? Well, I'll tell you, on the top 5 lists of executive marketing people, 65% of them said revamping and rethinking about their customer experience is going to be their top priority in 2022. So it's just super important. Everyone is talking about their customer experience. That's what people want more and more and more. 70% of web users want to learn through content. So it's important to not just have beautiful pictures out there, but actually give them information, okay? So they want to learn by content. They want it to be easy. And easy for someone to develop is different than easy for a user to experience and get around. So just really think that through for a little bit. I had someone ask me the other day, or say, hey, blah, 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 I got a phone call from a customer and they said they couldn't find our phone number on our website. And they went to the contact form. And I'm like, well, let's take a look. We should really probably take a look at that. And so we looked, and everyone, by the way, you should always have your contact information in the footer at minimum on your website. Have your address, have your phone number, have your email in the footer. Most people, when they want to call an organization, they just have a question, they just scroll right to the bottom to get that phone number. They don't even look anywhere else. And so we just need to be conscious about that, right? It's about the user experience. All right, and then speak to me. Write the content for your customers and use the words that they use versus the words that you may use in business, okay? So relate your content back to them. And here's why that matters. I just think this is so interesting. I don't know if people are drinking more in this time or era, but there's just a lot of data out there on like beer consumption. Anyway, so 7:30 a.m., right? But what this graph is telling us here is that even though you may have great brand awareness, the top 2 brands, Heineken and Budweiser, were outperformed by searches for just beer by 20 times over. So even though they have great names, people were searching beer 20 times more than they were for a specific product, okay? So just think about that in your content. So, and you know, maybe instead of saying theater, or excuse me, your name, Commonwealth, all the time, sorry, I just looked out there and that's the first thing I saw. Talk about the theater and all of those kinds of things that are involved in the theater, not just what the business name is or the brand, right? Does that make sense? And then performance. This is really important. So how you can increase some of your performance on your website. Super quick things. Don't need to spend tons of money or any money on any of this. But is if you do use an open source type of platform like a WordPress, thank you. There are plugins that you can do to enhance what you can do on your website. And I'm just saying, if you use a plugin, make sure that they're well established. So when you go to add a plugin in, take a look at the reviews, the number of people using that plugin, how often it's been updated, all of those things before you determine whether it's a good plugin to add or not, because it could break your system, okay? And by the way, this is a plugin called Updraft. Updraft is used to run backups on your website. Please make sure you have backups on your website on a regular basis. I don't know if that's daily if you're making updates a lot or weekly, but please make sure you have a backup on your website. We talked about image alt tags, so why, what you can do with them. So a picture is great for us visual people, but it doesn't tell the robots what this is all about and why. And so we want to make sure that it's searchable. This adds search content behind the scenes. Sorry, this little Prezi's over the top of it. But essentially, it's just saying what this is. And for this specific customer, they actually sell parts for this thing. So it's important to actually write out what this thing is in their content. So again, that's behind the scenes. We wouldn't see it visually. Blogs, 67% of people said they increased their leads by writing blogs. And that could just be a news story, it could be whatever, but something attached to your website. It could be the same content that you post on social media, it doesn't matter, as long as you're getting some information out there. And then forms, just think about forms. I know people kind of are like, I would rather someone call me, but forms do have a good purpose. One, they can get a hold of you when you're not open and you're not losing out on the lead. You want to make sure that you're available to them 24/7, and a form can do that. It's not just call me at 9 a.m. tomorrow. Go ahead and fill this out. I will call you the minute I'm open, because you want to capture them when they're in the time of purchase. So forms have purpose. Make sure that you use them, and then you can follow up with them. You can add them to your email list. You can, if you have text messaging services, you can use that. You can track your leads. It's very, very powerful. And the last thing I'll say on performance is make sure you have your website protected from malware somehow. SiteLock is just one that I use a lot of times, but there's tons of them out there. Make sure you have some type of protection out there. And why? Because cyber attacks are super expensive. So this is honestly small businesses that have less than 500 employees. This is how much it costs in cyber attacks last year. $3 million per incident. $3 million per incident, okay? It's a lot of money. And $5 million if that breach included some type of business email, which is the easiest way for hackers to come in is through business emails, okay? You clicked on something by accident, oh my gosh, it's hidden in the back of what's going on. And you might not know about it for months and months. So, and then 63% of small businesses experienced some type of breach last year. 63%. It's a huge number. So things that you can do real quick and easy, make sure you have your SSL certificate updated and on your website. If you don't know what that is, call your hosting company. They will take care of it. There are free ones. Just get it on there. And the other one is a reCAPTCHA. Google offers 3 different versions of free reCAPTCHAs. So take advantage of those. And why? Because your customers care. 56% of them are worried about their data getting out there. So help them out as well. Things that are trending in 22, voice assist. I'm trying to fly because I have 1 minute. Oh my gosh. 25% of internet users say that they used voice assist last week alone. Things that are coming up are image search as well, which is kind of crazy and cool. This is Google's image search, or excuse me, Amazon's. So you can take a picture of something and it will look at that picture and then serve you things to buy based off of that picture, right, essentially. Chat buttons, 70% of websites say are going to adopt a chat in 2022. 92% of people that use them say they had a good experience with the chat box, and 40% of people actually expect websites to have a chat on them now. E-commerce, things that are going on with the e-commerce, 50% of sales are generated now, especially for small businesses, through a marketplace of some sort, okay? Alternate payments are gaining traction big time. And as a matter of fact, like PayPal, Google Play, all of those kinds of things are going to be the preferred payment method in 2023. So just think about that, you know, if you're doing stuff with e-commerce or POS systems, put that on your radar. And then as a website development, horizontal scrolling is becoming the big thing. So having one page, yes, when you hit the navigation, it goes to that section, but having scrolling, horizontal scrolling is huge. Why? Mobile, simply put. Okay, and then I did have some data analytics stuff. And again, this is a whole nother section, but I'll just say real quickly to wrap it up, this is how I feel about data. Data really is just a state of facts. It's the strategic analysts that review that information and determine what it means. And then the marketers actually put that into a strategic plan. So there's a lot involved in data analytics. And then I'll just, I can leave this information here with you, why it's important and what to do about it. But just know that you already probably have data at your fingertips that you should take a look at, because it's really, really powerful information. So whether you have Google Analytics installed on your website, which 29 million websites already do have installed, it's super great. Meta Business Suite, which is essentially Facebook and Twitter, LinkedIn Analytics, Twitter Analytics, YouTube Analytics, keyword searches, AdWord links. So whatever platforms that you guys are using digitally, I'm sure there's some metrics that you could take a look at from an analytics standpoint and find out who they are that's going there and what they're doing when they get there. That's the key, who and what, okay? So that's, again, a whole nother segment. So all 5 of these are different marketing series that we're doing coming up. The first one's February 28th on persona development, and then the others will be each month following.